this morning we're going to be discussing this new identity of being a transgender in Nigeria. There are quite a number of them, and many of them are actually celebrities. So the question is this a new accepted way of life? Especially because recently the General Overseer of the RCCG had said that God does not make mistakes. According to him, he created people, man and woman. Now, the conversation is not about homosexuality. It's important that we set the tone right. Transgender doesn't necessarily mean you're homosexual. It just means that you don't believe, you don't like your body, and you choose to change your gender. So if I'm a woman, born a woman, and I feel like, listen, I'm a tomboy, I'm a boy, I don't want these reproductive organs, I don't want all these parts of my body, I can take it out, and I can become a man. I can begin to start taking hormones to turn to a man. So these are things that we're seeing done in the West. And we're seeing more people, especially in this part of the world, making those kind of choices. And the conversation is this, can we begin to accept these people? I'm not talking about, as I said, we know the law concerning homosexuality and lesbianism, we understand that very clearly. But transgender doesn't necessarily mean that you're being sexually active. It just means that you just want to change your body type. So what are your thoughts on this, especially in our society? And what's interesting is that the reality is that they're all around us. They are all around us, and they have human rights like us. So how do we begin to accept their decisions or their choices concerning their bodies? Want to start? I'm not looking at you.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so for me, this is an area that I am still learning about, and I'm, reading a lot about, history and how it is in Africa and our culture and things like that. So for me, the way I understand transgender is that I am born a certain way. Physically, I'm seen a certain way, like I'm seen as a woman. I have all the attributes of a woman. But inside my head, inside my brain, my thoughts, my mind, I feel strongly that I could be a man or vice versa. And so it gets to the point where you're so unhappy that until you act the way you feel inside your head, which is, oh, I'm meant to be a man, until you now live your life that way, then you will constantly be unhappy. So I've seen that, and I've seen in the West where of course, they have medical interventions that has helped them. People take hormones, and they're able to change their body, and then they have all sorts of surgery. But for me, why I say this is still new to me is we know of cross-dressers, men who dress like female, put the lashes and makeup on, and sometimes talk and have mannerisms like women, but do not necessarily change their gender. So they are able to just wear this clothes, act this way, and then not be, and then wash off and visit their, family members in the way that they are known, and, and move on. So they're able to live on both sides, switch both sides. So, so many people, like in Africa, we know that many of the things we don't understand, we tend to put it as either we say they're evil or they are confused or things like that. But the truth is, we now have a group of people who say they are born this way. And when we have this conversation, it's like, okay, so what is the way forward? How do we help them? Are there people who are confused? Is it a mental illness? Or is it just that some people are just born that way, really? Like, I'm a man inside and I can be a woman outside. People would say that many things in nature come, binary, male, female. But also in nature, we've seen some species that come as hermaphrodites and things like that. And, sometimes we need to ask the question that when we see people like that who are different from us, and it's nature. Maybe nature is not exactly male, female. Maybe there are some times that nature skips a pattern and creates something. And so for me, right now, this conversation is more about understanding what it is and how to move on.
Okay, let me come to BC, your initial thoughts on this.
Yeah, so I've also been thinking about this. I remember when I started my coaching, one of the things we were taught was how we need to learn, understand, and accept human beings the way they are, or the way they present themselves to be. We've always, as a society, tried to control the narrative. So it must be this way, and if it's not this way, it's the other way. But life is beginning to open our eyes to see that it's not always this straight. Life is not that straight. There are certain mysteries that we may never understand till we leave this sphere. And you will be deceiving yourself to think that because this is where I stand, every other thing that is different from me is evil or wrong or bad and all that. I'm not in a position to give that judgment. But I also realize that some of these things happen, and the question I always ask is this person causing any harm to me or to the people around? Is this person being a nuisance in the society? Is this person taking out what is supposed to benefit all of us and taking it for themselves? What role is this person playing? It is not my job to invalidate the feelings of another person. So if you say that you're looking like a female, but you are meant to be a male, that's your feeling. That's how you feel. I don't have a right to tell you not to feel that way because I do not believe it. Okay. The only thing I can do is to try to understand you. The only way I would have a problem is where you now bring it to my face and start causing me harm, physical, emotional, spiritual, or whatever harm you bring to me. That's when I know that we have a problem. But if you're still a functioning human being, this is just your belief, but you're able to do your work, you're able to help the society, you're able to, you're productive.
Right.
I wouldn't want to
Let me get Nima's thoughts on this. The issue of transgender in our society.
As far as I'm concerned, I'm with Daddy G on this. I think they're just two genders, but now I want to extend it. So we have a male gender, female gender, and the confused gender. That's how I see it. These are people who, when I started studying about these things and hearing them, I choose to stay with the psychologist's opinion that these are confused and it's a mental condition, people who need help. That's how I see them. Most of the times when we talk about, even when we took the story of Wale Jan on Friday, it's about children who were abused, sodomized as children, and who were confused as to what normalcy should be. And then they grow up, and then because they have rights now make that abnormality normal. I think the society, because we are in Nigeria, we only know how to do laws and enforce them or even abuse people at enforcing them. So we are at a place where we can't even help people. But what we should be looking at is how to help people get back to what God made them, what is normal. So God is not a God of confusion. You are made with certain biological features, and you say that, but in your mind, in the mind, the hermaphrodites are dealing with where they want to be. Those are the people who have a confusion that is obvious biologically.
God created them too.
God created. No, so I'm not saying that. But even they are the ones who should be having this conversation about where their hormones are pushing them more. So you have certain features, but your hormones are pushing you more. Like the one that called on the show. Yeah. We had one who called on the live on one of our lives that said he has a situation where he started seeing his period. He didn't see his period. He thought he was a girl, but he didn't see period and all of that. Those are the people who have these issues. Not you who think you just woke up, but because you flare off more. If you stay longer with your mom, you would like to dress female. It doesn't make you a female.
So I'm not going to put you on the spot because I like to bring. I like to get our callers and callers on 081-2705-3687, 091-390-76948. You can also send us messages on YouTube and on Facebook. We'd definitely like to hear your thoughts on it because if we say God is not a God of confusion, but there are hermaphrodites amongst us who are confused. We're not sure how God had placed them from the beginning. Did God make you a male? Did God make you a female? There are also situations where I grew up with people. I grew up with there's a young boy, I wouldn't mention his name, he was in my school, and he was all female. I mean, he walks like a girl, he talks like a girl, he has mannerisms. I mean, we loved him amongst us. He was just that person that in fact, we even gave him a female name, But this person was so bruised, bullied, because the boys rejected him. He was effeminate. Thank you, that's the word. So now he traveled, I think he went to Germany or something like that, where he found acceptance, He didn't become a female, but he found his own community of people like him. And then he was able to live a normal life. So shouldn't society help you? It's almost like we ostracize these people such that they feel they're outside the community. So the conversation really, when we come back on the break, is how do we accept people in this way where they have no choice? They are different from us. Yeah. Thanks for staying with us. We're still discussing the issue of transgenders in our society. Let me take Demola on the phone. Good morning, Demola. Are you there?
Good morning.
Good morning. So you're live. Go ahead, please.
Okay, I'm first-time caller.
First-time caller? I didn't hear that. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm a first-time caller.
Yes, welcome to the show, sir.
Yes, I would like to contribute to the... I want you to know that the world we are already, we are in a confused world. We are in a confused world in many things. From the point of view of, let me say, Christianity, there are certain things that have been before that have been happening. Concerning Sodom and Gomorrah, this happened in the Bible days thousands of years ago. That's when it came to lesbian or homosexuality. But one thing that this transgenderism that is like Bible did not really say directly. But there is something that the Bible made mention of, and that is effeminate. And it lists it as a sin. Do you know that every young child, male or female, when they are trying to metamorphose from childhood to adulthood, there's some level of confusion in terms of emotional imbalance. And they will see that there are lots of mistakes. The same thing when it gets to the creation of the part of our body. There are lots of, how will I put it, some errors. It might be natural, we see it, especially in the Western world, that most will not believe that something called spiritual. But thank God for this part of the world, we know that either Christian or any other religion, we know that there have been spiritual things. Even with our traditional stuff, they believe that there have been spiritual things.
Right. So, Demola, I think we lost our call. Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to say that I know that the mind is not open to direct apprehension by the observer. So, for instance, if I tell you that I'm having a headache, there is no way you can verify that I'm actually having that headache. You just have to take my word for it. And I think that is what happens when they say, this is how I feel from the inside. Let's not forget that we have a combination of two energies. So we have the male and the female energy in everybody. And for some people, it seems like the one side of the energy will now be higher than the other part of that energy in that same person. Your physical form may be that of female, but what if the way I am now, I strongly feel that I'm supposed to be a man, or that I am a man in my inside? Probably because I feel my male energy higher than my female, and I tend to go to that direction. So it's about how they feel. But I think we need to understand that in all, what would Jesus do if he was here right now and he had these certain people who felt they are meant to be different? Would he crucify them? Would he throw them to the lake of fire? Would he punish them? Would he ostracize them? What is the approach that you think he will do to understand what they are going through? And probably if he feels they need help, or they come and say they need help, because you can't heal somebody who does not believe they are sick. So if they say, this is me and this is how normal I can be, how are we going to accept them for saying this is their own normal?
Okay,
because we are the ones on the other side seeing it as abnormal.
So let me let Nimna respond to this. And
the safest place we can have this conversation is how there's an extra on a person and how to help that person walk it back. Just as we have a feminine, what they call the male having female side. We have female having male side, but this side of the conversation is not as loud as the other side, because what used to be funny was to have a man acting female. And as long as it's not your family member, everybody will be laughing. And nobody bothered about whether that was bullying, how they felt about the laughs.
Yeah.
But that does not that does not mean that you take it extra and say, because I want to now change nature and become a female, and then go as far as they have gone now. Because for every mile given, they take a rope. They've now gone as far as now we see a man posting baby pregnancy photo shoots. It's confusing. And whether we like to have this conversation about their rights or not, there has to be that line. Every time regulation and control stops, there's that overdue.
And that's the stage we are now. Let me take my Aminat and I'll come to Mariam. Aminat, are you there? Thanks for calling. Aminat. Ooh, I'm so sorry. I kept you for a while. I do apologize. Go ahead, Mariam.
Okay, so one of the few things I just would like to list is, one, the culture of when you don't understand something, you fear it, and when you fear it, you hate it. So for me, I would like us to look at it this way. Where we don't understand it, we have a healthy curiosity about it, and then treat it with kindness to understand it and see how we can help it. Then secondly, we also need to look at this culture that's on our own side of how we feel like we're the normal ones and how to treat those who are different from us. Now, on the side of those who are different from us, at what point do we say that these are people that are struggling and we need to help them and not just allow people to just go with their feelings? Because as you said, it just keeps going. We now have a group of people who say, don't refer to me as he or she, refer to me as they, we are. I think there's a word that they use where they cannot tell you they are male or female. They cannot be singular. You refer to them as they. So like you, I would say they are wearing a pink shirt. They are sitting there. So binary. So the thing is, they are non-binary or something like so. So where do we stop? And then and then where is it that we're looking at our friend, our family member who may need help and we're unable to give it to them because we're saying let them go with their feelings? So for me, really, this conversation should be about learning more, but learning more in kindness, learning more in love, not in hating someone, judging them in such a way that we punish them for the way that they say they feel, for the way that they claim that they were born.
Ima is calling from Kaduna. Thanks for calling. Are you there? Hello, Ima?
Yeah.
Thanks for calling. You're live. Go ahead, please.
All right. Good morning.
Go ahead, you're live.
All right, I'm a first-time caller.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Well, the matter we are discussing is a very serious issue. So oftentimes, we look at it from the aspect of the physical, but this thing is more.
Hope you're not listening to the TV. Okay, I have to cut it off at the time.
So, just as Miriam said now, so we have the conversations and learn more about these people to help them come back. It's true. To help them come back to find themselves. See, just yesterday I saw a picture of a guy who did a surgery to look like a dog. It's his right now. And now those ones say they're not be human again. So we see there's this overdue, and we must see the different system.
Where do we stop?
So we study them and help them and see how this mental road that they are now, whatever it's informing it, now we can help them walk back. Why do I have to buy the hormones? To help me validate how I'm feeling inside. I grew up with my mom as an only son. I loved the way she dressed. And so now I say, the way I'm feeling inside is to be my mom. I need help. If I now suffer the grief of losing her, I would want to be like her.
Or you love your dog so much.
Or I love my dog so much.
So you want to become a dog.
And I want to marry him. I marry dog. And, I will now go and pay for hormones to grow breast, pay for hormones to have a dog baby. And, I will now do photo shoot. Please now. The conversation is difficult, but we must have the conversation. And the conversation will not be to just accept them because they are not dangerous to society yet. Because whether you like it or not, when it's closer to home, your eye go clear. Nobody wants, but you are looking at them from far. As long as it's not my son, as long as it's not my family member, it's okay. There. So when it now becomes, what will you do?
So I think Rima has raised some really interesting angles to this. I mean, I said we have to wrap up on this conversation, but this is a conversation we need to continue to have because whether we like it or not, the population of transgenders are growing.
Yeah. Because of this
So,
acceptance.
so where do we draw the line? Where do we stop it? Do we accept them for who they are? Do we help them? Do we feel they're in need of help and how to counsel them back to normalcy? What is it? Or do we allow them to continue to grow and then have more changing to dogs and animals and say, okay, this is how I feel? So we have to be very, very careful where we take this conversation to. I need to wrap up on this.
Let me just add one thing. So, you know, when you come also to a point of, okay, I'm accepting that this may be this person's calling. I'm watching a program on Sky News, or I think Sky News or BBC, and it's young teenagers who took a decision of being transgender when they were much younger, and they are older and they are regretting the situation, and now are asking to sue hospitals and those and guardians who allow them to make those decisions at that age.
That's
so
the confusion part, yes.
Yeah, so if I was there standing beside you and say, okay, go with your feelings, then you now grow older and you're now saying, I'm looking at it differently. Why didn't you do, you were the adult in this situation.
You should have known
Why
better.
didn't you do something else?
Yeah, but that's assuming that they want to do it at a young age. We have men now, adults, who have grown, who have seen life and decide to take this way. So sometimes you assume that this person needs help. And because we don't see from the same lenses, we assume that what is normal to me means it's normal to everybody, and the other way it's abnormal. So I think we need to have the true conversation. Let us even understand exactly how they feel and when it started. From there, we may find the root cause.
Stay tuned.